Hey y'all, Pi here, and we are back in our life, beginnings and always. And last time, Cove got bullied by an old couple, so now we're plotting our revenge. This will only go well, I am sure. You're saying that because you're a cluck-cluck chicken. Cove glared, but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? I am, in fact, a chicken. You'd rather just avoid them. You looked at the house. Behind those closed doors lurked two beings, rich in years but poor in patience. Maybe they deserved retaliation, maybe they didn't, but that punishment wouldn't be coming from you. It was safer to stay away from them. You could live without the hassle. I'm not doing it either. Another chicken for the coop. This is a hen house now. If we're chickens, you're a lizard, Lizzie. Aw. She wagged her tongue at his face. Still better than a bird brain. Chicken? The condo door opened, revealing one of the two culprits. The old man's wizened face was set in a scowl, which was to say he looked exactly like he always did when you saw him. Maybe that was his normal face. Oof. What are you kids doing loitering outside my house? Chilling on the street, dude. They're not even making noise. Maybe he was just always in a terrible mood. Nothing? Nothing. He repeated the word as if it was the greatest crime anyone could commit. Nothing good, more like. Get lost! It wasn't as if he owned the space outside the house, but Cove's eyes, still red from the earlier tears, were wide and you thought it would be best to heed the old man's command. Lizzie took off with Shiloh immediately, trailing after her without so much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. Bye. You waved your arm at Cove, summoning him to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice a stitch in your chest and the ache in your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin.
Cove!
Hey, Cove. Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Next level eye roll. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. And it was fine, you thought. Shiloh could prefer Lizzie as much as he wanted to. You closed your eyes, laid on your side, and relaxed. Some time passed with you like that. It felt good to take a real break. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin. You saw a dolphin leaping through the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it. Look, a dolphin. Cove joined you in gazing skywards. Yeah, I see it. Really? No, but I like dolphins. Hey. He chuckled at your reaction. That's cute. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You? I think that we'll just go along with it. It's been a long day. We're too tired to argue. It had been a long, hot day. You weren't bothered about going there, but you would rather do that than make a scene. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. You would kill some fish. That would be bad for the fish. Yes, exactly.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be serious about everything. You're the one that asked what would happen. That is what would happen if it hurt the fishes. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Cove. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by the waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Xander. I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great. Oh, sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad and me.
Sorry.
Aw, I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. I'm gonna continue to be an awkward bean. You didn't say anything. You couldn't come up with something you thought would make the conversation any less awkward, so you kept quiet. It was safer that way. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. You retaliated. You used your foot to smack the water pulling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back into your sister. You laughed as she spluttered, some of the salty seawater having landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Yuck. Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Oh no. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. Oops. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Way to go, Shiloh, you dumbo. Lizzie, be nice. You offered him some help up. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand out to Shiloh, too. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them.
Sorry.
Sorry. What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low. But there was no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Unless he's secretly a secret agent. No one can actually be that precious. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. Yeah, Half of the team is completely soaked. The four of you drudgingly made your way back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake as damp clothes weighed the group down. Your moms were outside, chatting to Cove's dad. We're back! Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you were all in, ranging from messy to soaked.
No.
Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the ocean back with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home? Cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Yeah, can confirm that is what happens when you're the oldest. You're responsible for everything. Unfortunately. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. You've been out making memories, bucko. I'm glad you got a good time with your friends. Cove used a slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just this much fun. That might be right. Kids, what can you do? Come on, Cove. Let's get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset. Cove winced at the thought. Okay. Aw. Attaboy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night, Adam's family, and Shiloh too.
Fine.
Well, we better do what we can to fix you guys up too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom. Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Yeah. Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat on for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go into the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she had hoped. This was a no fun allowed cleanup session, at least that's what she claimed. Not much longer and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad there weren't any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Cute. Alright, I think I can start barbecue, but we'll see how long this one is. You've been brought along to the big park today, which did an excellent job of living up to its title. The park near your house, with its lonely playground equipment, wasn't even a quarter of the size of the expanse of grass and trees that lay before you now. As it was in the next town over, and too far for you to walk by yourself, you didn't get to visit it much, and so you soaked up the environment. Another difference between this park and the one in your neighborhood was that this one had visitors other than you, Lizzie, Shiloh, and Cove. Today it was the busiest you'd ever seen it, thanks to a community get-together luring people in from all over the local area with promises of barbecue and fireworks. Your family and Cove's were just two of many. What seemed like dozens of cars were parked up already when you had arrived. You saw Cove hesitate as he took in the growing gaggle of strangers. By your mommy, Lizzie bounced on the balls of her feet, barely containing her excitement. The crowd made you nervous, but you couldn't avoid coming to the event. Mommy had told you that the people running the community event weren't charging for it, but she wanted them to get something in return. Which is why you've not been allowed to touch the beautifully iced cupcakes she had carried on her lap during the drive over. It was a special treat for them. Every time the car made a turn, She'd clutched the box tight enough for her knuckles to strain, much to everyone else's amusement. Mr. Holden's contribution to the party, a huge pack of juice boxes, was tucked under his arm after being retrieved from the car's trunk. You bet there had been no such dramatics around that cargo getting here in one piece, but the boxes did lack the beautiful shimmer of Mommy's treasured cupcakes.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. Everyone all set? Should be. Cove, did you put sunscreen on before we left? Yeah, I always do. You don't have to tell me. Mr. Holden deflated, his attempt at caring for his son rebuffed, but he triumphed with a smile. He is trying so freaking hard, and Cove just is having none of it.
Good kid.
Good kid. I don't want you getting burned, or dehydrated either. It'll be a busy day.
Well,
Don't think there's gonna be any risk of that second part. Mom nodded at the tables ahead, laden with all kinds of food and drink. She was right, there was plenty to go around. The parents headed over, with you, Lizzie, and Cove trailing after them. A bunch of grown-ups were clustered around there, chatting, but you were more intrigued by what was on the tables. Some of it was familiar: chilled meat, sliced vegetables, big bags of chips, but there's a lot you didn't recognize. Your moms had said that you weren't to touch the food until they said it was time to eat. You didn't want to risk getting caught. It'd be bad if you got in trouble before the event had even started. You saw that Mommy and Mr. Holden had deposited the food and drink they'd brought. Mommy gave the cupcakes one final worried look before turning to you with a smile. Since that's the topic at hand, how about we freshen up with something to drink? Yeah! That'd be great. Along with the ones out, there was a giant ice cooler on the ground, stuffed full of cans of soda, boxes of juice and milk, as well as bottles of water. Your drink was juice all the way. You slurped the sweet juice through the straw until, all too soon, you were sucking up only air. Aww. Your little group took a break while everyone quenched their thirst. Mr. Holden smacked his lips, pantomiming enjoyment. That hits the spot, but you kids should go have fun. You can take your stuff with you and join the other kids playing games. Just don't go too far from the tables. We'll be keeping an eye out, so don't even think about sneaking off. We're not going to the other parts of the park today. Lizzie huffed at their comments. They did sound directed at her, but she scanned the surroundings. Nodding her head towards a group of kids like a general directing their battalion, she pointed the way.
come on!
Come on, let's go over there. Cove's mouth was downturned as he looked from the parents and the other adults to the new kids, clearly not favoring either option. But ultimately, he hunched his shoulders and tagged along after Lizzie. You stuck with your parents. You felt too nervous to approach the unknown children. You want to stick around, Xander? You nodded, turning away from the other children and scooting closer to your moms. You found it hard enough to speak up in front of those you did know. Hanging about with a bunch of strange kids was not something you could manage today. Mommy patted your back, her hand a reassuring presence. We'd be delighted to have you with us. It's not a bad choice. We're fun too. Right. Though, if it ever gets too boring, don't feel bad about ditching later. We can take it.
Oh,
Is that your plan, Cliff? I'm not sure. We'll see if there's ever a chance to get away. The parents laughed together, and you smiled along with them, even if it didn't seem as funny to you as it did to them. It wasn't long until your moms had spotted people they knew, eagerly greeting them and striking up more conversations. Lots of these people seemed very keen to ask after you, too. A few of the faces were ones you knew. Many you didn't, but you found an unnervingly high number of those who claimed to have met you before. Your moms had to chip in to help you out, letting you know that this was so-and-so from such and such, and that you'd last met when you were in kindergarten or preschool or even diapers. You had no idea that you'd had such a wide social circle as an infant. That's usually how it goes. All of these people appeared to want to talk about the same things: how you've been doing lately, if you were having fun at the event, and how much you had grown. You continued feeling shy. It was safest close to Mommy, who patted your head soothingly as people interrogated you. You kept your answers clipped, hoping they would get tired of talking to you and leave you be. As your moms launched into a discussion with someone about the town's infrastructure, whatever that was, your eyes started to wander around. You spotted Cove's dad. He was close by, exchanging a series of questions and answers, not unlike the ones that had been posed to you. Instead of asking if he'd grown or what school he was in, they were asking if he was new here, when he'd moved to town, what he did. You felt sorry for him. At least you had your moms to bail you out and stick by you when you needed. But he was facing the barrage of questions all on his own. The process repeated itself some more. He didn't have the same rapport with people that your parents did, probably because he was still so new in town that he didn't know anyone yet. You saw that he struggled with one question in particular, if he was unattached. It didn't crop up in every conversation, but when it did, he fumbled for an answer before giving a response that didn't clear much up. Something about unavailable being a better word to talk about that sort of thing with him. What was the difference? After losing interest in watching Cove's dad go through the same motions, you looked around to see what else was going on. You watched a bird hopping along on the ground. It was a tiny thing, about the size of your fist, but it was valiantly trying to carry an entire slice of bread in its beak. I'm impressed by this bird. The brown bird dragged it away from where people were congregated, over to a quiet spot in the shade of the tree, where you watched its little beak nip at the bread as it feasted. Up above, the brilliant blue of the sky grew orange as the sun sank down on the horizon. Coughing harshly, you were struck with a sharp smell of smoke. Oof, by the sounds of that, I'd say they're starting up the grills for the barbecue. Mom called Lizzie and Cove back over to the group, and Mommy turned to face you. Are you alright, sweetie? You shook your head. Oh, baby, I'm sorry. The smoke will be gone soon. No one needs to go up to the grills if they don't want to. Just let me know what you need. There was no response from the other two kids here. Please, could you get it for me? Of course.
So,
The main thing being served is kebabs. You can have whatever you'd like on it. There's different meats and veggies.
well,
What would you like on yours? Mom is right, there's plenty of options. Ooh, okay, we got lots to work with. Alright. Let's go with chicken and potatoes. And I think the palate of a child is probably going to be simple enough that that is all that little Xander's gonna eat. So, and that's everything. Sounds good to me. The veggies will be good for you. Order given, you waited for your food to be ready. Lizzie headed towards you, having issued her own request. Hi again. You were glad that she hadn't teased you about sticking with your parents earlier. Though she could be bossy sometimes, your sister didn't mind that you weren't always interested in playing with other kids your age. As long as you still spent enough time with her, of course. I heard what you ordered. I'm getting a chicken kebab with all 3 colors of peppers. Oh, she's grown up, is she? Noticing that Cove approach, she turned to him. What are you having?
why?
Why does it matter? I don't know, I was just asking. I'm getting beef and shrimp with all the vegetables except onions. Lizzie hummed while evaluating his response. That's okay, I guess. The chicken is definitely the better one. And then you can eat all the chicken. I'm going to. I want some chicken too. Oh yeah, I can let you have some still. You're welcome. Lizzie peered over to the grills where the kebabs were being handed out. A growing assortment of kebabs collected in your parents' hands. They're coming over. Don't get jealous of mine when you realize you made the wrong choice, Cove. I didn't make the wrong choice. You sighed. She simply stuck her tongue out in retort. The person serving gave your mommy one final kebab, then your parents moved over to rejoin you. Between them, they were carrying 6 kebabs, one for each of you, including Cove and Mr. Holden. We've got the goods. Cove's daddy is looking for a place we can sit. In the meantime, they began passing out the kebabs to their rightful owners. Lizzie smiled smugly as she received hers. These are pretty big. Be careful not to drop it. Try not to poke yourselves with the ends either. They're sharper than you might think. Hearing that, you tentatively push the tip of the screwer against your finger. It felt like the point of a newly sharpened pencil. Though it didn't hurt your hand, you wouldn't want it scraping the roof of your mouth or jamming your tongue. Mommy clucked her tongue. It would have been nice if the options were a little easier to manage and less messy to eat, especially for smaller children. There aren't even plates for everyone, so we could set the food down for a second.
True.
That's what you get for the price of free, but we can hack it, right? Lizzie nodded her head vigorously, clutching her kebab like a trophy. Your parents let you back to the tables. It was immediately evident why Mr. Holden had been sent to scout one out. The benches had quickly filled up as people got their food. Mr. Holden was standing over a corner section near the edge of the sitting area. He beckoned your group over to join him. You clambered onto the bench, taking care not to let your kebab slip from your fingers. Further along the table, Cove perched next to his dad while Lizzie took the space next to you. Your mom passed the final unclaimed kebab to Mr. Holden.
Thank you.
Thanks, this looks delicious. Thank you for getting us a space out here. Everyone tucked into their food. Though you didn't think you'd use much energy standing around, you felt very ready to enjoy your dinner. Perhaps it had been the delicious smells that had filled the air, along with the smoke that had irritated your throat. Mr. Holden, what do you do? Well, I do a lot of things. Do you play golf? Only if you count mini golf. One look at Lizzie's stricken face confirmed that she did not. I like that. She could enjoy the occasional round at a mini golf place, especially if she had an audience to impress, but your sister took her passion very seriously. Even then, it's been years since I gave it a shot. Cove groaned at the feeble pun. Mom chuckled. You weren't sure if she was responding to the joke, Cove's annoyance, or Lizzie's offense.
Don't worry about it.
Just as well, she'd be dragging you out to the green every week. That's because I've got dedication. You need a good drive or two to get far. Mr. Holden nodded, clicking his tongue in appreciation. Cove looked from his father to your sister, lost in the conversation. Outclassed in golf and wit. I don't get it. More golf stuff. Xander's just like, I'm over it. You should give real golf a try. Maybe I'll even teach you some tricks. Don't try to change my dad to be more like you. Lizzie gave Cove a dirty look at the accusation. Mommy felt the need to move the topic ahead before it got heated.
Nice.
That's really sweet of you, but I'm sure Mr. Holden is busy. He might not have time for another hobby. Yeah, I don't think I'm made for that. Still, the offer is appreciated.
Why?
Then tell me something you really do already. You just go away every day. I like scuba diving, though with the business, that's more work than play these days. Surfing and reading, snorkeling. Huh. I think Cove's dad owns a shop, maybe? I genuinely don't know what he does. Thinking back on it, I don't know that they've ever mentioned what he does. Well, anyway, I'm over time, so I'm gonna cut it there. Next time we will make our decision about how we're going to respond. So, thank y'all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like, leave a comment if you have something to share with the class, subscribe if you have not yet, and if you would like to support me financially, please consider checking out my Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to all of my regular videos, link in the description. And for everyone else, I just hope to see you again in the next one.